All right, so we're going to continue looking at compound interest. This formula should look very, very familiar. I'm just going to write one that we've been talking about for some time now, which is y equals a parentheses b raised to the x power. And if you notice, it lines up, okay, with compound interest, but I'm just going to go over the definitions of compound interest. So what's y or what's a? It is the balance after t years, okay? What's A or what's P? It is the principal or the original amount. So you see the definitions are pretty similar. As soon as you see 1 plus, B is what? Growth. Because as soon as you add, all right, so this is growth or decay, but it's growth if B is greater than 1, right? As soon as I do 1 plus, I'm automatically growing, which would make sense because you wouldn't put money into an account that isn't going to grow. All right, then plus the annual interest as a decimal, or the interest rate, which is going to be R, little r. And this as a decimal means that you need to divide it by 100. So anytime you have a percent, right, you have to divide by 100. So even if you have like 82.3%, you still must divide that by 100 to get rid of the percent. And that's what this R is. Then N is the number of times the interest is compounded per year. Notice there are two N's. This N and this N are the number of times it's compounded a year. So how you read this is this. How many times does annual go into 1 year? One time, because annual means once a year. How many times does semi or biannual go into 1 year? Well, semi and bi, they mean 2, right? So it's half a year. So this will be 2 times into 1 year. What about quarterly? Well, what is a quarter? A fourth, right? So that means how many quarters are there in 1 year? There are 4. Okay, what about monthly? Okay, so think about monthly. How many months are there in a year? There are 12 months. So this will be 12 compounded 12 times. What about weekly? How many weeks are there into a year? There are 52 weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and let you fill out the daily. So daily, how many days are there in a year? That'll be the number of time it's compounded. All right, so that's what N is. It stands for how it's compounded. And then finally, T is the time in years. Once you know the definitions, the rest of it is really simple. You're plugging in the numbers as you circle them from the word problem. You're going to use a calculator. So in this calculator, I'm going to start off with my entire formula. So I have A equals capital P parentheses 1 plus. Then I have divide, and I have R N raised to the power of NT. Now, all I'm going to do is plug in the numbers as I circle them from the word problem, use my calculator. So Levy invested $160. So what is $160 in an account? What is that? Is that the balance left after years have passed? No, because nothing has passed yet. So it's not the balance left. Is it the principal? Yes, my original amount is 160. So I'm going to come here where, I'm actually going to copy this formula twice. I'm going to come here where we have a P, and that P is 160. My initial investment is 160. Now I'm looking for interest rate, compounded, number of times it's compounded, and this is also number of times it's compounded. I copied that formula wrong. And then times the time. An interest rate of 3%. So anytime you see a percent, remember, this is annual interest rate as a decimal. When you see a percent, you must do what? Divide it by 100. The good news is the calculator can handle that. So what's my interest rate? It's 3, but I have to write this as a decimal. In other words, I can't write the percent in there. All right, so in order for me to put percent into the calculator, I just divide it by 100. And all I did is type 3 divided by 100. And then N, how many times it's compounded? So if I keep reading, it says it's compounded daily. Okay, so what is daily? Well, you're going to go look into your notes, and you're going to see that your notes say daily is 365. There are 365 days. And that means this other N is also 365. Okay. All right, so the only thing it looks like I'm missing is T in order to find my total. Write an equation for any given time T. A equals my principal, which is 160, parentheses 1 plus my interest rate. And remember, anytime you have percent, you have to divide that by 100 over compounded daily, which is 365. Close that to the power of 365 times whatever the time is. All right, assuming no deposits or withdrawals are made, how much money to the nearest $10 would be in the account after 8 years? Okay, so what does 8 years signify? 8 years is your time. all I would do is I'd put this 8 where my time is. So I'm going to come right back to my equation, and it's supposed to be times 8. So if I hit delete and go times, oops, see this? It's come down. So in order to keep anything up, you just need to put a parenthesis so it can stay up, and times 8. All right, so this is my amount when I put times 8. Now I'm rounding to the nearest $10. 10, not tenth, not TH, just 10. So if you come back to your notes and you're looking for nearest $10, this one is tenth, this is hundredth, this is 1,000, this is 10, every $10. It says identify the tens place and you use a negative for your left. So if I follow the arrow, it just says I type in round, parentheses, the number. Okay, so to copy this number, I just click it, Control C, Control V. The number is right there, comma, -1. All right, so comma, -1. All right, so to the nearest $10, it's going to be $200. And that makes sense. Why? Because if I have $203, all right, and I'm trying to do to the nearest $10, so it goes 200, 210. What is it closest to? 200. But again, if you don't understand that, that's okay. You're just typing it into the calculator. So you're just typing in round, the number, comma, -1 for 10. And again, be mindful of what it is because it does change. So this is going to be $200. Okay. All right. I'm going to do another example. And again, I'm going to start off with my formula. Copy it twice. Then we're going to go ahead. Jackson invested $58,000. What is that? That is my initial amount. So I'm putting $58,000 into the account. So let's put $58,000 into the account. And in an account paying an interest rate of 2.7. And this is what I was talking about. Even if the percent is still 2.7, you still must divide it by 100. So R is my interest rate. But because my annual interest as a decimal, it's a percent, I have to divide by 100. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2.7 divide by 100. Okay. All right, then I'm going to move forward. Compounded, how is it compounded? Quarterly. What does that mean? There are 4 quarters in 1 year. So it's 4 times in a year. So my N is going to be 4 in both places. So there's an N right here as well, 4. So this is my equation, 58,000, 1 plus 2.7 divided by 100, all divided by 4, raised to the 4 times T. All right, so that's my general equation for any time T. Assuming no deposits or withdrawals are made, how much money to the nearest dollar? Okay, so again, we're going to talk about that in just a second. Would be in the account after what? 14 years. Okay, so 14 is my time. So that number 14 is going to go where my T is. And all I have to do is just come to the calculator and type it in there. So if I delete that and I hit times again, it comes to the bottom. So to keep that up, come to the top, close the parentheses, and then go in and type times 14. So this is my answer right here. And I need it to the nearest dollar. So again, I go around parentheses, the number, click it one time, Control C, Control V, comma, and how I want to round it. And if I don't remember, I'm going to come back to my notes. All right, my notes say nearest whole number, that's going to be right here, nearest whole number or nearest dollar, no numbers after the decimal. If I look at my example, I say round my number, comma, and then what number? 0. So there should be no numbers after the decimal. So that is my final answer. It'll be $84,536. All right, so what I want you to do is do the exact same thing that I've done. You're going to answer this question right here. There are 3 different options, and then you're going to answer me which one would be the best option to get the largest balance. Let's practice.